practicing the yoga. And you can forget the body not by assuming the Vrashabhasana, Halasana and the various asanas, but to sit comfortably as you are prone to do at leisure. Now this asana, and then because the mind is intimately associated with prana, pranena chittasya avyavaharya sambandha. The mind and the breath or the vital current in the body are related very closely. So you can control the mind by controlling your breath. And if your breath is uneven, the thoughts also will be uneven. So this pranayama is to stretch the prana ayama. It's not controlling the breath, holding your breath. It is elongating the breath leisurely. So when you are anxious, you breathe in quick spurts. But when you are relaxed, there is an elongated breathing. So prana ayama is stretching the breath so that the mind also is expansive. When the breathing is slow, the mind also is expansive. So this pranayama, and then pratyahara, control over the sense organs, etc., etc., dhyana, dharana, and ultimately you reach the chitta vritti nirodha, or the absolute suppression of all the vagaries of the chitta. And this is supposed to be when you have a clear vision of who the Purusha is and who the Prakriti is. So yoga is not union. Bhoja, who has written a commentary on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he defines yoga as pum prakrityoho viyoga eva yogaha. Yoga is not union. It is disjunction, it is dissociation, it is separation. So yoga is a euphemistic term to do this. You are bringing about a rift between the Purusha and the Prakriti. Pum prakrityoho viyoga eva yogaha. Viyoga is actually yoga. It's called yoga in a very sarcastic way. Like when you abuse your friend or when you want to chide your friend, you say, you are a great man. Actually you mean you are not great. But you say you are a great man. So yoga is actually viyoga. Viyoga is separation. Because all our troubles are because we can't distinguish between Prakriti and the Purusha. Yoga is a method by means of which Prakriti and the Purusha are shown in their respective, separate, discrete lights. I think we should close. The end portions of the Vedic lore, the final phase of the Vedic corpus, which is called Vedanta, Veda end, the end part of the Veda, which are the Upanishads, the Upanishadic texts. And Vedanta is principally the philosophy of the Upanishads. The Upanishads are 108 in number. Of them, a large number of them are sectarian, very poor stuff. The really ancient and authoritative Upanishads are 10 in number. The 10 on which Shankara and others have commented and which are frequently quoted and which are relied on in the construction of the Darshanas. Well, the Upanishads, the 10 Upanishads, they constitute what are known as the revealed corpus, Shruti Pramana. Shruti is what is heard from a revealed source. So the Upanishads are called the Shrutis, Shruti. And the Upanishads themselves are hard to be understood because the level in which the Upanishads were given is far higher than what we normally can reach. So therefore, there had to be auxiliary texts to bring out the essence of the Upanishadic philosophy. Therefore, they have what is known as the Prasthanatraya, the three starting points of this philosophy of the Upanishads, or the Vedanta. The Prasthana is where we start from, where on what do we rely and make our inquiry into the Brahman or whatever the Vedanta aims at. The first Prasthana, or the foundation or the starting point, are the Upanishads, of course, the collection of Upanishads, 10 Upanishads. Then the intent of the Upanishad has been analyzed into a text called the Vedanta Sutra. The philosophy of the Upanishads have been reduced into aphoristic sayings, aphoristic statements. I mentioned what the sutra style is the other day. This is generally ascribed to a sage called Badarayana, but we don't know much about him. The Vedanta Sutras are there. And the sutra style is discursive. It takes up a position, it wants to define the terms, and it wants to raise objections to this position, then answer the objections, doubts are raised, doubts are satisfied, various sorts of objections they are brought forth, and then one by one they are cleared, and ultimately they take a view, one prima facie view, which if it's not found tenable is rejected, and then the conclusion is arrived at. So this is called the yukti method. Yukti is the rational method, reason, tarka is involved, logic is involved. So the second prasthana, or the sutra prasthana as it is called, it is described as the Nyaya prasthana. Nyaya is logic, reason. So you approach the philosophy of the Upanishads from the standpoint of reason. It must be convincing to you, convincing to the rational mind. And this approach characterizes the sutras, the Vedanta Sutras. And then we have the Gita as a prasthana. It's the Gita prasthana. This is for general edification. The same truths that have been revealed in the Upanishadic texts, that have been discussed threadbare in the Nyaya Prasthana or the Vedanta Sutras, is now presented in a unified manner, in an integrated manner, for the edification of all people concerned. This is the Gita Prasthana. So they are also termed, the Upanishads are Shruti Prasthana, the Sutras are Nyaya Prasthana, and Gita is called Smriti Prasthana because this forms a part of the epic Mahabharata, which is known as the Smriti. So, well, the three prasthanas are meant to discharge several functions also. The Upanishadic prasthana is supposed to be Upadesha, instructions given to the individual, do this, do that. Atmavare vijignyasitavyaha. The Atman is to be known. The Atman is to be sought after. Anyavacho vimunchatha. Leave off all other talk, all other interests. The Atman alone is to be searched, is to be known, is to be focused. Your attention should be focused. This is an Upanishad, this is an Upadesha, this is an instruction. And the Upanishads don't try to justify their position. They don't try to argue. They just give the instructions. So this is called the Upadesha. Now these Vedanta Sutras, they begin to discuss all this. So this is called the Vichara. So these are, the Atman is to be known. what is it to know Atman? How is it relevant to us? What do we gain by it? And how the knowledge could be made, etc., etc., etc. It is vichara. And the Gita Prasthana is supposed to be a sort of an anvekshana, an overall view. Anvekshana is overall view. So Upadesha, Vichara and Anvekshana. And this is also referred to in terms of the methods which the Upanishads prescribe. So the Upanishads, as you know, or as you don't know perhaps, it suggests it does not believe in a God. There is no theistic import at all in the Upanishads. And the main thrust of the Upanishad is know yourself. Close your outward senses, open your inward mind, and look within what is within you. And the person who makes the inquiry is the only reality. So if a person doubts whether there is an Atman or not, Shankaracharya would say the doubter himself is the Atman. If you doubt whether you exist or not, the very fact that you doubt affirms your existence. So this is the one reality which can't be controverted, which can't be rejected. So the Upanishads take this as the sole reality. And this reality is to be known. There is nothing else to be done. He can't be placated. You can't offer coconuts to it. You can't offer plantains to it. You can't go around it in pradakshina. You can't do anything with regard to the Atman. The Atman has to be known. And knowing the Atman will get rid of the ignorance that sits heavily on us. And this is the only path. But how do we know it all? For knowing, there are several steps which the Upanishads prescribe. And in Brihadaranyaka, where Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, his wife, the Atman is to be looked for. Atmavare vijijñāsitavyaha. The Atman is to be known. Is to be known means realized. How do we realize it? Srotavyo, mantavyo, nididhyāsitavyaha. First you must hear about the Atman, Sravana. Then you must exercise your intellectual faculties and think about the Atman. This is manana. And then there should be deep contemplation on it, concentrated attention to what you have discovered as the truth. This is nididhyasana. So Upanishads prescribe these three methods: Sravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. Sravana is your entrance into the portals of this knowledge. You listen and your eyes are open and you try to go onward. Manana is where you take an independent stand and examine it in the light of your previous experiences, your standpoint, logic, reason, intuition, and what the texts say. So Manana is a more creative process. And then Nididhyasana is a contemplation, a quiet contemplation into the truth. Now these three prasthanas, in these three, Gita, the Sutra and the Upanishads, they say Gita is the Sravana. You should read the Gita. So that's why they say when you want to enter into the Vedanta, sphere of Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita is the first book. It's the introduction to the Vedanta. So therefore Gita Prasthana takes the stand of Sravana. You listen, you take in. And then the Sutra Prasthana is Manana. You think about it, you exercise your reason, your logic, and you hash and rehash about the whole thing. And this is the Manana Prasthana. And the Brahma and the Upanishads, they are meant for contemplation. They are not meant for discussion. This is Nididhyasana. So Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. listening to the Vedanta, thinking about Vedanta and contemplating on Vedantic truths. These are served by Gita, the Sutra and the Upanishads. So Gita is described as the quintessence of the Upanishadic wisdom. There is a statement which everyone who reads the Gita knows, that all the Upanishads are like the cows, and Krishna is like the cowherd who milks from each cow, and he has collected a pail of milk and he is giving it to Partha or Arjuna. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat. So this Gita is like the milk got from all the various Upanishads by Krishna. Well, textually, this forms a part of the Bhishma Parvan of the epic Mahabharata. But the Bhandarkar Research Institute, which collected the really old manuscripts of Bhagavad Gita, found that in a large majority of them, this Gita is not to be found. So it does not form a necessary part of the Mahabharata, although the colophon reads Sriman Mahabharate Bhishma Parvani Krishna Arjuna Samvade, etc., etc. But actually this has claim to be an independent text. And the commentators, they justify this position when they say actual Gita starts from the second adhyaya, where Krishna says, "You are a big fool, ashocyanan vachochastvam prajna vadamscha bhashase." Till then, to the assurance that Krishna has given, you leave off everything else, you surrender unto me. Aham tva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. This assurance. So Gita consists only of this, and there is a lot that is added to the Gita from both sides. Well, the entire span of the Gita is now supposed to be 700 verses, arranged in 18 chapters called adhyayas. But Al-Biruni, who translated Gita into Persian in 1030, in the 10th century, latter part of the 10th century, he knows of a Gita with 745 verses. And the present Kashmiri edition of the Bhagavad Gita has 745 verses. But the Bhagavad Gita that we are acquainted with, which is a typically Dravidian Patha, the Dravidian recension, this has 700 verses, arranged in 18 chapters, and it is usual to group these 18 chapters into 3 units, or groups of 6, which are called Shatka. Shatka is a group of 6. The Purva Shatka, Madhya Shatka, Uttara Shatka. The first 6, the middle 6, and the latter 6, and the last 6. So this was the old way of classifying the Gita. Well, the Gita, as you all know, the scene is set on the battlefield. The battle is about to start, the great epic fight between the Pandavas and Kauravas, and Arjuna is the hero of the Pandava side, and he wants to see who are arraigned on the opposite side. And Krishna, as a charioteer, takes him in between the two armies, and and Arjuna, as he was surveying the entire forces, he was suddenly smitten with grief. that do I kill all these people for the sake of victory and possession of a piece of land? I would not do it. So he was suddenly overcome by compassion and he refused to fight. Nayotsya iti govinda muktva tushnim babhuvaha. He threw off his bow and arrows. He sat down on the chariot and said, Nayotsya, I won't fight. If they want, let them kill me. I won't fight. I don't want to enjoy this blood-stricken, blood-stained victory. Bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradigdhan. The victory that I'll get, the land that I'll enjoy, will be stained by the blood of my kinsmen. I'm not going to fight. Then Krishna has to use all his wits to bring him round and make him fight. So Krishna makes use of 16 long chapters and 585 verses to make Arjuna fight, which is a ridiculous situation. Did Arjuna not know that they were his kinsmen before he came to the battlefield? Why should he be suddenly overcome by this realization that they are all kinsmen? And having decided to fight, how could he go back and say, I won't fight? So Krishna's job was a very difficult job because he was not sleeping. It is easy to wake up a man who is sleeping, but it is hard to wake up a man who pretends to be sleeping. Well, this Arjuna's case was like this, and it was a very hard task for Krishna to do. Well, the commentators say, this is not a historical episode. Na aitihasikam etat. You should not go away with the impression that there was Arjuna and he refused to fight and Krishna wanted him to fight and so on. This is a symbolic affair. It starts with Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha. What is this Dharmakshetra? Dharmakshetra is Dhrang Dharane, the area in which you find yourself and the circumstances which bear you up, which support you, which come to your aid. This is Dharmakshetra. And Kurukshetra, Kuru iti karmavachi, Krang is dhatu, Kuru is to do or actions. Kurukshetra is that by means of which that field wherein all actions take place, and that's the body. The human body is the Kurukshetra, and the Dharmakshetra is the particular environment in which you find yourself. And this Krishna and Arjuna is merely the mind, and Krishna is the superego or the conscience within you, the consciousness within you. So the entire thing is symbolic. So Shankaracharya, while commenting, he says, Arjunam nimitti kritya sarvaloka sakshikanchakara. Arjuna was not that individual who lived long ago, and Krishna's advice was meant only for him. Every one of us is Arjuna. Every one of us is in the same predicament. Arjunam nimitti kritya sarvaloka sakshikanchakara. So Bhagavad Gita has a message for each one of us, because in each one of us there are two forces, the Pandava force and the Kaurava force, good and evil. And there is always the tremulousness or inability for us to act, take the right decision, as Arjuna failed. So each of us has to be reinforced, enthused, supported from within, and this is the Bhagavad Gita story. It is symbolic of everyone's fight in life. So the very body is the Kurukshetra, and the Krishna and Arjuna are right within us, and we have to heed to this discourse. Well, Ramanujacharya also says that this is a means of making the wisdom dawn on us by a dramatic episode. Pandutanaya Yuddha Protsahana Vyajena. This is only a pretext. Pandutanaya Yuddha Protsahana Vyajena Arjunam Nimitti Kritya Bhakti Yogam Avatatara. So this was to provide an insight into every man that the situation has been projected. Well, this is about the structure of the poem, of the long poem of 700 verses. Each one of the chapters is called a yoga. Each one of the chapters is called a yoga. The very first chapter, where not much of philosophy is there at all, where Arjuna sits down in a despondent mood, even that is a yoga. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna's despondency itself is a yoga. And then Samkhya Yoga, every chapter is called a yoga. Now the meaning of the word yoga is whatever is meant to lift us up is yoga. Arjuna's despondency is a reminder to us that we share Arjuna's feelings and grief. So the word yoga has been used in the special sense in the Bhagavad Gita. Well, the main issue is the confusion that reigns supreme in every man, the confusion about what's to be done, how should one go about, what are the things that are tabooed. So about the karma. So Krishna says in between, Kim karma kima karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha. What's to be done? Karma is kartavya karma, duties, obligations. What are the things that we should do? And what are the things we should not do? This kavayopyatra mohitaha, even the poets, poets means wise men, even the wise men flounder while taking stock of this duty and non-duty, etc., etc. Some of these concepts like Purusha, Yoga, Karma, Brahma, Yajna, these are all from the old stock. Now, in these three prasthanas, there is what is known as the apurvata, a concept of apurvata, regarding a text that we should rely on. If there are more than one, if there are several texts, can we take any one of them? But the Vedanta says all these three must be taken. The Upanishads, the Sutra and the Gita. Why? If Gita merely gives us an idea of the philosophy of the Upanishads, why not read the Upanishads themselves? Why should we bother about this Gita? If there is a water flow, if there is a river flowing, why should you dig a well near the river and drink water from it? You can as well go to the river. They say each of them has a peculiar contribution to make, a particular contribution to make, which you don't find in the others. This is called the apurvata. Apurva is not found here, it's found, what is not found here is found here. What is found in the Gita, which is not found in the Sutra or in the Upanishads, the commentators discuss. Why should you read Gita at all? Because the very first problem that our commentators pose before commenting on any text is Kim prayojanamiti. What's the use of this work? Should we read this work at all? Kim prayojanam? Prayojana should be established. And they raise various questions. Is it a work like Kim kakadanta pariksha granthaiva? like a text which deals with the structure and function of the teeth of the crow. Things which don't exist. So is it a book dealing with things which don't exist? Kakadanta pariksha grantha. Much of our research is focused on such things. Or is it something in which we are not interested at all? Anabhimatam eva. We are not interested in this karma, dharma, yajna. Why should I read that book? Abhimata is your personal interest, your personal inclination. Does it satisfy your personal inclination? Even if it satisfies your inclination, abhimate api. Even if you are interested in it, are there not other simpler ways of knowing than this? Laghiyamsi. So there might be a simple way of knowing it. Why should you take all the trouble to go through the 700 verses? What is found in the Gita, which is not found in the Sutra or the Upanishads, have been explained as: number one, the concepts have been widened in their scope to make them universal in application. Take the concept like karma, for example. Krishna speaks of karma yoga. Karma is not any action. Karma is a technical term. Karma is a term which forms a part of the Mimamsa school. The karma means the ritualistic action. The action which the Vedas prescribe, the conduct that is sanctified by the Vedic corpus, this is karma. So karma had its narrow application, but Krishna, through this concept to wider scope, he said any action that you do is karma, and if you have a doubt whether you should act or not, you don't know that it is not possible for you to sit without acting even for a moment, because your breathing also is action. Your vital functions going on in your body is action. So Krishna widens the scope of terms like this. Yajna. Yajna is not a priest sitting in front of the fire and putting into the fire certain ajya, certain articles like ghee, rice, etc., to the accompaniment of the various hymns or the mantras. Krishna says, Dravya yajnas, tapo yajnas, jnana yajnas, parantapa. If you read a book and understand its meaning, it is yajna. And if you share what you have with your neighbor, it is yajna. So the word yajna has been blown into a larger context. So this you find in the Bhagavad Gita, which you don't find in the Upanishads or in the Sutra. So the terms have acquired a new meaning, a new force, a new Shakti in the Bhagavad Gita. And number two, the concept of Loka Sangraha, social service, is the peculiar contribution of the Bhagavad Gita. You don't find it in the Upanishads. So Upanishads don't ask you to help society, serve society, but Bhagavad Gita does. Loka sangrahamevapi sampasyan kartum arhasi. So there is such a thing as helping others. Loka sangraha is doing good to the people. So with this in view, you should engage yourself in activity. There is no way you can abstain from action. Loka sangrahamevapi sampasyan kartum arhasi. Well, this idea of social service looms large in the Bhagavad Gita. And third peculiarity of the Bhagavad Gita, there are concepts which have risen to the status of avenues to reach the goal. There is the Jnana Marga, the way of knowledge. The Mimamsakas, they advocated the way of action or the Karma Marga. And the Bhagavatas, they advocated the path of devotion to a Godhead. So among these three, a person naturally gets the doubt, are the three independent of each other? Are the three equally efficacious? Or is one optional to the other? Is one main and the other subsidiary? When there are three paths, there is naturally a doubt, what is the strength of each path, the validity of each path, the goal-directedness of each path. Well, in Gita you find a reconciliation of these three paths, which is another apurvata or the uniqueness of the Gita. And then the last peculiarity or apurvata is, while the Upanishad does not give you an option, it says janatha atmanam anyavacho vimunchatha, know the Atman, leave off all other talk. And in the sutra you find the same injunction, you do this, you know this, there is no other way, nanyaf pantha, there is no other way. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna everything that he has to tell and that he has not to tell. Everything that Arjuna wants to know and does not want to know. The the whole thing is given to him, placed in front of him. And then Krishna says, Vimrishya etad asheshena. Take a holiday, sit quiet and think of all that I have said. Vimrishya etad asheshena. And then yathechasi tatha kuru. Do exactly as you want. Well, this freedom Krishna has given in Gita, which you don't find in the other two prasthanas. So, the commentators point out that the Gita has an independent locus standi. It has an independent value. And then about what the Gita has to tell at all, there are many things. There are 18 chapters. At least 17 chapters deal with the Gita proper. If you exclude the first chapter as an introduction. Now the main issue which Arjuna was concerned with was whether it was right to kill his kinsfolk, kill his kinsmen, in order to win an empire. Arjuna did not merely stop at this doubt. The Arjuna's, well, some commentators also discuss whether Arjuna was really eligible to get this teaching at all, because there is an injunction in all pedagogic books written in India, na prashtavate bruyat. You should not tell anything to anybody unless you are asked to tell. The first common sense dictum, na prashtavate bruyat. Don't volunteer information to anybody. If they ask you, you tell. And second thing, before you tell, you must ascertain the eligibility of that person. Adhikaram vijñāya eva upadishet. So you should not instruct a man who does not deserve that instruction. So adhikaram vijñāya eva. Only knowing his eligibility to receive this knowledge, you must impart this knowledge. Well, the commentators raise the doubt, how is Arjuna eligible to know? We know from the epic that Arjuna was a blunderbuss. Arjuna had many affairs with many people. And Arjuna was never known to be philosophically inclined. He was not the person who had any mood for this kind of a thing. Why did Krishna waste his breath over him? How was he eligible? On the other hand, We have the model of Dharmaraya, his elder brother, a goody sort of man. He was good in the sense that he was good for nothing. Well, he was a very pious man, very devoted, and he was always interested in dispassion, and he was always wanting peace. Krishna should have told him all this. It would have made sense to him. How did it make sense to Arjuna? Why did he choose Arjuna for the... And the answer is, in the previous section, before the battle started, so Dharmaraya came as the eldest member of the Pandava clan. He was fully armored and he had bow and arrows, and his chariot came first and stood. And when he surveyed the other field, suddenly he kept by his bow and arrow, removed his armor, and got down from the chariot. To the chagrin and wonder of everyone else, what is this old man doing now? We have decided to fight. Is he surrendering to the Kaurava army, or is he calling for peace or truce? What is this old man doing? So everybody was anxious about what he would do. He quietly walked to the other army, and Drona was there, Bhishma was there. So he fell down, prostrated before Drona and Bhishma, and said, well, there has been a decision that we should fight. You are my teachers, you are my elders, and it has so happened that I should fight you. You bless me that I will succeed in my fight. And he went back. Well, a man like this does not need Gita. He knows exactly what to do, and he has no confusion in his mind. A man like that, so the Dharmaraya was not the Adhikari. He was beyond Krishna's reach. Well, Arjuna is like every one of us. Arjuna is earth-earthy. He had an earthy body and his legs were planted on the earth. So, we have the need for the Gita. Well, the main problem of Arjuna was, there is an emotion which overtakes him. He looks at his own people. He looks at his teachers, Matulan, Bhratrun, Shwasrun, Sughurdamscha. He saw everybody, and suddenly his valor shook. He was overcome by compassion. Kripaya paraya vishtaha. He was overcome by an emotion, by a compassion. And then, that was the weak moment. He said, Nayotsye. Krishna takes up the problem. Is it right for a man to be overcome by an emotion when a decision has been made? Krishna is not asking him to fight and kill the army of the Kauravas. Krishna's point is your rejecting to fight proper at all? A man in your position, a man with your responsibilities, and man with in your status of life, and having taken a decision, is it right to flounder merely because you are overcome by a compassion, by a fleeting emotion? And Krishna tries to sort this out. What are decisions? How does one arrive at a decision? And when is it that a mood of compassion overtakes an individual, and what happens? So there is an analysis of how we do things exactly in the wrong way, and how we don't do the right things in the right moment, in the right way. And Krishna has an analysis to give. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. There are different ways of involving yourself with things. There is one way which is mature. You take stock of all the conditions, all the relevant conditions, and you arrive at a decision intellectually, this must be done. There is another way A man who refuses to take a decision, he is not a decision maker. He is merely swayed by the passing fancies, and what he says now is determined by what he feels now. So the problem is a mind independent of feeling and a mind overcome by feeling. Krishna examines the different attitudes people have, and Krishna points out that this may not be the real love of people merely because you say that these people should not be killed. I will not fight. I won't call you a very compassionate man. This is a weakness on your part. This is not real love for the people. It's only a lack of decision on your part. And number two, a great man like you, a great hero like you who has seen many battles, why should your compassion and love be confined to people who belong to you, people who are related to you? Why don't you stretch this to all people? Why don't you consider war itself as an evil? Why do you consider only this war as an evil? So is it right for an individual to narrow his attention down to his own family, his own clan, his own kinsmen? Is it right? Krishna takes up such problems. In the Gita, such problems are tackled. And the need for an individual to be steadfast in what he does. Krishna calls it sthita prajna. One whose prajna or the wakeful mind is sthita, steady. A steady man, a man who is mature enough to see things clearly in the proper perspective and take decisions which are unassailable. So he calls him sthita prajna. Who is a sthita prajna in the ultimate analysis? Krishna says, Atmanyeva Atmana tushtaha sthita prajna tadochyate. When you rest on yourself, when you completely depend on yourself, then you are a sthita prajna. If you are depending on others, if you are depending on the situations, you are not a sthita prajna at all. Atmanyeva Atmana. A yogi, how does he sit? He does not sit on the seat that is provided for him. He sits in himself. So his body sits on the seat, but his entire being is well founded on himself. So this is what Krishna means by saying sthita prajna is one atmanyeva atmana tushtaha sthita prajna tadochyate. He is a sthita prajna. And then to give this vision, to give this perspective, he tackles this problem from several standpoints. And he says, if you are refusing to fight now, if you are overcome by compassion and say, I will not kill them, you are a big fool because you can never kill. These people are already killed. Krishna shows that these people whom you are worrying yourself to kill or not to kill, they are already killed by me or destiny. They are already killed. Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. You are only a tool in the hands of destiny to accomplish certain works. So Arjuna's trouble was because he was arrogant enough to think that he could kill or not kill, that he could do or not do. So Arjuna says, your arrogance is ill-founded. Things have happened, things will happen according to some inscrutable plan. You are only a cog in the wheel. So we are all tempered down by this reading that if I say that I will do this, I must be tempered enough to say I am made to do this. So there are forces within us, forces outside us, which prompt a person to do particular things. So this doing or not doing, which was Arjuna's problem, like Hamlet's or so this was ill-founded. And number two, how can any man withdraw from the action that the conduct that is ordained on him? Each one of us has a role to play, the role playing. Each one of us has a role to play. And what right have we to desist from playing this role? There is an expectancy on the part of others about how we should do it, what we should do, and we have no right to disappoint them. Each person has a role. So Krishna points out, you have a role to play. You are not here as an ordinary individual. You are here as a role player, and the role you must play. And if you desist from it, it is akarma, not doing your duty or job. And the world has gone on only by the people who have acted and not by the people who have renounced. This is the great truth that Krishna tries to hammer into his mind. Karmanyeva hi samsiddhimastita janakadaya. The great sages, much greater than you, Janaka and others, did they not rule? Did they not live in normal life? Did they not do the things that they were ordained to do, apportioned to do? The world has gone on, he calls it Jagat Chakra. Jagat Chakra is this wheel of life. This life goes on by doing and not by resisting, not by desisting from action. So, karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asthitaha kuru karmaiva tvam karmajyayo hyakarmanaha. You must act. Acting is better than non-acting. Karmajyayo hyakarmanaha. So, there is no room for sloth, for inactivity. But Krishna gives the corollary to this main theorem. Kuru karmaiva tvam, do you must. Whatever is ordained on you, you must do. But you must do it in such a way that you are not ego involved in it. So this is the thrust of the Gita. The karma is a necessity, is binding on us, but the karma should be free from the egoity involved in it. Aham karomi iti vrudhabhimanaha. It's a wishful thinking on your part to say that I do. Things will prompt you to do. So therefore, your arrogance has no role to play even when the action is being done. You try to remove yourself from the action. So this principle of the ahamkara, aham karomi iti vrudhabhimana, this Arjuna stresses. And when you are not doing it, how can you expect a reward for it? So this nishphala or aphala with karma, this is the thrust of the Gita. Do so that you are free from the results thereof, the consequences thereof. Do for doing's sake, duty's sake. Well, the nishkama karma that the Gita is supposed to emphasize, doing without malice or attachment or involvement or looking forward for a reason, this forms the bulk of the Gita in the middle section, in the Madhya Shatka. The middle the 6 chapters the middle 6 chapters, they deal with this problem of how to do and not be bothered by what is done by you. Well, here there is an attack on the Mimamsa view. Among the Mimamsakas, certain duties are enjoined. You must do this. And when a person does it, the Mimamsaka action is ritualistic action, karma kandam. So when an action is done, arthi samarthaha vidwan adhikriyate. You must have a desire in your mind. You must have the competence. And you must know about what you will get. Arthi is one who has need. Samarthaha, one who has competence to do. And vidwan, one who knows what is coming out of it. So only he should do. The action should be undertaken with a purpose in view, with a desire in you. Every action is a desire fulfilling action. It should fulfill a desire. And you must have the competence to do it, and you must know what you will get thereof. So the Mimamsakas reduce all karma to what is called the kamya karma. Kamya karma is the action done for a specific end in view. I want this to be done. So in the yajnas and the yagas, all the rituals, they are all kamya karmas. They say, the Mimamsakas say, if you want a son, do this yajna. If you want the cattle, do this yajna. Praja. Or you want progeny, you do this yajna. So they have the various needs. And to suit each need, there is a ritual. From Rajasuya to Agristoma, there are 56 rituals. And each one of them is corresponds with a desire. You have a desire. To fulfill the desire, a ritual is there. Krishna says this is the wrong way of doing things. You do things without any desire like this, fully knowing that it is your duty to do it, and the desire and the fruit that devolves on you later should be none of your concern. It does not mean that you should not profit by it, but you should not do a thing with profit in view. There are other considerations which must weigh, like your duty, your obligation, and your sense of propriety. And then you should whole hog involve yourself into it. So the middle shatka, the Madhya shatka, is a beautiful analysis of the dynamics of action. Social action, as well as the personal action. It involves not merely ethics, but a sense of social justice, social duty, and a sense of individual's role to play within the family, within the community. So the middle shatka is a remarkable text. So we'll stop here and we'll continue. बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः अकर्मणश्चापि बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः. Very mysterious, obscure is this principle of karma. This karma is kartavya karma, a duty that one must do, suiting to the status in life. It has its justification on several fronts. And akarma is refusal to do, inactivity. Nang is the prefix. Akarma is nang is negative. The absence of karma is akarma. Karma, the prefix has the sense of viparita karma, things which should not be done, the things which are prohibited, things which are proscribed and things which the text don't indicate. So this vikarma is the whole group of things that we do ignoring the propriety thereof. This is vikarma. This karma has the knowledge. You are doing things because it's your duty to do it. You have the strength there. There is the sankalpa there. Sankalpa is the volition, deliberation. You deliberate, having thought well, you take recourse to an action and you say, this is what I must do. And for not doing it, sloth is responsible. Krishna also gives a very beautiful account of the three gunas, sattva, rajas and guna, gunatraya vibhaga yoga. So one chapter is entirely devoted to the treatment of the gunas. Well, the vikarma is motivated by desires, anger, hate, greed and things of that sort. So it is with reference to the vikarma that he says, kamayesha krodhayesha rajo guna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidyenam jiha vairinam. The greatest enemies for man is this excessive attachment and hate. Kamayesha krodhayesha rajo guna samudbhavaha. These are arisen, these spring up from the rajas, and vidhi yenam jiha vairinam. These are the enemies for you. So he says they must be conquered. So the real enemies are inside you, you must conquer them. So the vikarma is whatever action results with this background, excessive attachment, love, misplaced love, and greed, and krodha, etc., etc. Well, for this, Krishna has a beautiful analysis. The things around you act on you in a variety of ways. A thing is useful to you. A person is useful to you. A thing or a person gives you pleasure. You are likely to want it, to think about it constantly. Whatever gives you pleasure, whatever augments your fine feelings. So Krishna says, Jhayato vishayan pumsas sangas teshu upajayate. If you think about these things constantly, time and again, if you are habituated to dwell on this thing or person frequently, then without your knowing, an attachment springs up. Sangaha teshu upajayate. There is an attachment, a subliminal, unconscious attachment to the object. You may not be prepared to own it, but sangaha teshu upajayate. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. From this attachment, there is an entire orientation of the being with regard to it positively. There is a positive valence with regard to that object or person. And this is called the love, the desire. Love, not in the sense of universal altruistic love, love for this or that, this particular person, this thing or this situation or this action. So this kama comes in. And this kama, this sangha, is unconscious. It may not affect your entire being, but kama is what determines your entire being. It orients your entire being towards it. Your body, sense organs, mind, ego, and individual consciousness. Everything is ashtau prakritayaha. Krishna speaks of the 8 prakritis that we have. The body, sense organs, the mind, the lower mind, manas, and then the ego, and then the individual consciousness. All these or oriented towards a particular object to the exclusion of your normal activity. This is what you might call infatuation. You are infatuated with it that it leaves no room for other preoccupations. You don't do anything else excepting doing this again and again, because kama has taken hold of you. It's not merely sangha. Sangha, one who has sangha is a drinker. One who has kama is a drunkard. It's, you know, the difference between the two. So kama, it is not possible for you to focus your attention entirely on one particular thing to the exclusion of others. Whenever this is threatened, because no pleasure could be continuous, you will have to come out of it. And you can't do just one thing all the time. There will be other things calling for your attention. When such things happen, the same kama will turn into hate. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin. What was love becomes hate. Kamat krodhaha abhijayate. And this hate with a front of kama will confuse you, will confound you. You don't know what to do. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. The individual has lost the directedness, purpose in life. He does not know what to do, where to go, and how to divert himself. Well, krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti is your mindfulness. This mindfulness gets shaken. Krishna elsewhere says, whatever you do entirely. You might be doing a small thing like walking, which you do automatically, without thinking about it, without knowing about it. But Krishna says, Shvasan, Jigran, Shvasan, Shvapan, etc. Even when you walk, you become fully aware that you are walking, that the contact of your feet with the ground is continuously being made and unmade, and that is what walking is. So whatever you do, the smallest and the most negligible thing, you do it with all your attention focused on it. This is how one must do. And this is doing things mindfully. Smrtiman was Sthita Prajna. He will do everything mindfully, for he will have no occasion to regret later on. I did it casually. He can't say that. I did it inadvertently. He can't say that, because whatever he does with the full attention being focused on. This is mindful doing. Smriti man. When your body has become heir to the contending forces of love and hate, the mindfulness wavers. Smrti bhramsaha. And smrti bhramsat buddhinashaha. Your superior mind, which decides on what to do, how to do, when to do, etc., this gets lost. Buddhinasa. Buddhinasat pranashyati. And when this goes, the individual is a goner. Well, this is the result of vikarma. And this karma is what you do deliberately, willfully, knowing fully about what you are doing and what the consequences are, etc. There is no cause for regret. And the action that is done should lead to jnana. Action must be done so that the wisdom regarding yourself will dawn in you. Every action that is done must be directed towards the knowledge of oneself. Atmani, Atmana. You know yourself by yourself. And that is the secret of the action. So the action, the karma, which is made to produce jnana, is called karma yoga. Karma is different from karma yoga. This karma has been harnessed to a particular path in your progress, and this is the jnana. So when karma can become jnana, then the old Mimamsa objection, or that every karma leaves a trace behind. Chakram vavahato padam. Buddhism also said it. Everything that we do, small or great, everything will leave a trace. This is called the vasana or the samskara, which will result in our future action. What I was the previous moment determines what I am this moment. And what I am this moment will determine what I will be in the next moment. And so it continues all through life. So you can't escape the inevitable traces of every action that we do, thinking, speech, as well as bodily action. And such being the case, karma has a necessary force on you, constraint on you. So karma becomes binding. Karma will bind as you go along your life. The things that you have done will gradually hold your feet, and they constrain you more and more. So we grow up in constraints because the early actions have been wrongly done. So karma becomes a bandhaka. Karma binds you. You can't escape your action, and the results of it, good or bad, must be suffered by you, experienced by you, willy-nilly. But Krishna says, you are doing a thing, but the purpose of your doing a thing is altogether different. It's to produce karma. Therefore, this karma is weakened. This has no binding force. Karma bandham prahasyasi. The karma will have no influence on you. It can't be a constraint to you. You are using the same karma. Like he says, khura. Shankaracharya gives the example of a khura, a knife. A knife, it could be made to cut. It could also be made to sharpen. The knife could be destructive. It could also be constructive. Likewise, karma could be destructive. It could bind you. Karma could also release you, liberate you, provided the karma will give you jnana. So the karma which becomes jnana, which leads to jnana, is supposed to be karma bandham prahasyasi. This will no longer be binding. So Krishna's scheme, praxis that he gives is, everyone must engage himself in the duties that are determined by his family, society, group, or whatever. And then there is a technique of acting, there is an upaya of acting, and this is what Krishna calls yoga. There are three definitions of yoga in Bhagavad Gita. Number one, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is skill in any action. Whatever you do, if you do it with an expertise, with skill, that's yoga. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. And then, if you develop a temperament which will not be elated by pleasure or depressed by sorrow, this samatvam yoga, this is yoga. Yoga is when you can bear good and bad things in life alike with equanimity. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau tato yuddhaya yujyasva, etc., etc. So the good things and bad things in life, success and failure, this and pleasures and pain, if an individual develops an attitude of mind which steers clear through all this, that's yoga. So this karma doing with jnana should lead to this. And when it leads to this, it's called karma yoga. Karma has become a yoga. Yoga is a technique, is a device, an upaya. A technique by means of which the same karma could be made to yield better results. Or like the same speech, you can hurt an individual, you can praise an individual, you can elevate an individual. Well, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives this as the basic thing that an individual should do to understand the responsibility, number one. Number two, to decide deliberately about how best to discharge one's duty, coolly, deliberately, calmly, and then doing it whatever comes, whatever other people might say. Krishna says that there comes a stage when you ignore public calumny or public talk about it. When you have decided that the right thing for you to do is this, then you don't care what others talk about it or think about it. So the individual has already acquired this sthita prajnatva. Nindantu niti nipuna yadiva stuvantu. May they praise me, may they blame me, but I do just this. Well, the jnana is not in terms of the knowledge of God. All these three prasthanas, the Upanishads, the Sutra, and the Bhagavad Gita, are free from sectarian influence. There are no gods going about in any of these texts. There is no Shiva, Vishnu, Rudra, Ishwar. There are no gods at all. And the only deity spoken of is the one that resides in your heart. Hristham Atmanaha. He who resides in your heart. Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishthati. That deity, that's to say, the general Vedantic thrust is an individual must attend to himself, must go within, wrap up into the interior, so that the individual will recognize, will encounter the reality within, which reality, in fact, is the basis for everything else in the universe. Krishna says, Brahmayan sarvabhutani hriddeshe arjuna tishthati. So you will come to realize that your attitudes, your feelings, your emotions, your orientations, they are all because of this small, still small light that shines within you. So this is considered to be the 26th principle or 25th principle. The Sankhyans speak of the 24 principles. The 5 elements and the 5 jnanendriyas, the 5 karmendriyas, the 5 tanmatras, etc., etc. 24. And the 25th is the cosmic Purusha who will manage the individual Purushas. In each one of us, there is this Purusha. Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishthati. In each one. But there is one common Purusha who is within each one of them. This is the Antaryami. Antaryami is one who resides within. So Bhagavad Gita seeks to open our eyes to this reality within. Well, there are many other Gitas which are found in the Puranas and the Mahabharata, like the Uddhava Gita, Dattatreya Gita, Shiva Gita, Vishnu Gita. But this Bhagavad Gita and Anugita, there three are considered to be Gitas proper. This Anugita, Sanatsujatiya Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita. And the thrust in all these are the same. And now, about the position of the Gita. The Upanishads, they don't contain information about anything else. Its field is very simple. to know about the Atman. Forget about everything else. Janatha Atmanam Anyavacho Vyamunchatha. Leave off all other talk. And the Brahma Sutra exercises your intellect, your reasoning faculty, and you understand the Atman in the context of your life, and it projects three basic coordinates: the individual, the world, and the God. Jiva, Jagat, Isha. Jiva, Jagat. These are the three coordinates in which we move. And the Brahma Sutra takes merely the Upanishadic standpoint and treats of the Isha as Nirguna, beyond the gunas, Anirdeshya, can't be denoted, can't be indicated, and one of the Upanishads says, Yat chakshusha na pasyati, yena chakshumshi pasyati, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Not what your eye can see, but that by means of which your eye can see at all, that is Brahman. And naiva vacha namanasa shakyate aptum. He can't be reached by your sense organs, by your mind, or by your speech. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. If you want to reach that reality by talking about it, your words will come back from it, along with your mind. It's beyond your ken. And unless you can forget your body, unless you can forget everything mundane and material about you, that reality can't be seen at all, can't be realized at all. But Bhagavad Gita does not take this stand. Here in your life, while you are doing the normal things, it is possible to realize the reality that is within you. This is the distinction between the Sutra and the Gita. So Gita emphasizes that the reality must be sought ihayeva asmin janmanyeva kurvanneva. In this very life, doing the things that we are wont to, one must realize the reality. And while doing so, Bhagavad Gita is a remarkable reconciliation of several viewpoints. You find a lot that is common to Buddhism and Gita. And in Dhammapada, we have many verses which read like the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. And many of the ideas which the Buddha gave, they are found reflected in the Bhagavad Gita. And about the doctrine of karma, about the doctrine of the nirjara, soul being laden down with karma like a bird that was freely flying. It is loaded with dirt and dust and it comes down to earth being heavy. Even so, our soul, which is light when we were born, is weighed down by whatever we do, whatever we think and whatever we speak down. And by yoga, you throw this doubt, you scatter this dust and make the soul light again so that it can rise up. So Jains call it nirjarana. Nirjarana is removing this load from the Gita speaks of the same truth. So Gita is a remarkable synthesis of the Upanishadic philosophy, Buddhism, Jainism, and the Ajivika schools. And Charvaka is not neglected. And the Charvaka, Lokayata Swabhavavada, Krishna gives expression to Swabhavastu pravartate. Every man, whatever he might think, and whatever the dictates of the scriptures are, he will do exactly as his nature or temperament prompts him to do. Krishna says this in a mood of despair, perhaps. Swabhavastu pravartate. Every man will do exactly what his temperament decides for him. And prakritim yanti bhutani nigrahaskim karishyati. When there are inclinations within us, we will do exactly as the inclinations are. And no amount of repression will help. Nigrahaskim karishyati. How can you repress the... So, even the Lokayata philosophy is included. So, Bhagavad Gita is a neat synthesis of Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Lokayata, the Mimamsa, and the Vedanta viewpoints. And a peculiarity that the Western scholars find in Bhagavad Gita is that thoughts are jumbled. Thoughts jostle with each other, and oftentimes the statements are made contradicting each other. Even Arjuna says at the beginning of the third chapter, you speak of karma, you speak of sannyasa, and bhramayasiva me manaha, you are confusing me. So if Arjuna himself said that he was being confused by what Krishna said, we needn't say anything. So, Brahmayasiva me manaha, I am not understanding you right. So, the juxtaposition of the opposites, this has been a peculiarity of the Indian thought, especially of the Mahayana thinkers. In the Shunyavada terminology of Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu, the opposites are there, the kotis are there, not one annulling the other, but the two must be juxtaposed to give you a vision of the higher reality. So there must be something else beyond which these must be these fail in their significance. So the statements in the Gita which are apparently contradictory have to be resolved from a higher standpoint. And this is illustrated by Krishna's view of renunciation, vairagya or sannyasa. The two opposed things, Krishna says, kuru karmaivatvam karmajyayohya karmanaha. Do the karma is better than non-karma. And elsewhere he says, best of all is jnana. And for getting jnana, you must renounce sannyasa. You must renounce, and the position of a renunciant, one who is dispassionate, one who has given up things. This is better than the karmin. Well, how to reconcile this? The reconciliation is to be sought after, is to be seen in the light of what he means by sannyasa and what he means by karma. And sannyasa, he says, Nahya sannyasta sankalpo sannyasi bhavati kaschana. The renunciation is not a matter of giving up your normal relations, walking away from home, giving up your ties or wearing an ochre robe. This is not sannyasa at all. Nahi asanyasta sankalpaha. If you have not renounced your desires, your inclinations, your thoughts, then you are not a sannyasi at all. Nahi asanyasta sankalpaha sannyasi bhavati kaschana. No man can become a sannyasi unless he can renounce his thoughts. And what is this thought? The thought about I am doing this to get this in return. I am doing this job for a reward. So phala, kamana, the desire for the fruit of an action, for the result of an action. So the act, karma yoga also means sannyasta phalaha. When you can do a thing without looking for the reward thereof, then you are a sannyasi. So karma and sannyasa, they are not terms opposite each other. They are They don't annul each other, but one is in the other. That's why Krishna says, akarmani karma yaha pasyati. You must be able to see non-action in action and action in non-action. That's the higher state that one should look for. So there are many such apparently contradictory things which are sought to be resolved by the commentators. Well, I should now really stop before you or exercise too much. Well, I thank you all very. Yes.
Thanks to you, but speaking after a scholar, I have to be brief, otherwise my little knowledge will be shown or exposed. In the last 4 afternoons, we have had Dr. Ramachandra Rao. I would prefer to call him Pandit, because Pandit he is. He has, to tell you frankly, friends, I and I think many of you would have thought of Indian philosophy as a collection of thick, fat books, better adorned in the library and dusted once in a while, and generally shown to our children that this is our Indian philosophy. It's a matter that scares most of us, especially those who work. We hardly have the time to examine ourselves from the Indian point of view, the Indian philosophical point of view. But Dr. Rao has opened the door from Veda and today to the Gitas. He has told us that's not all that difficult. It's not religion. It's a way of life which all of us can easily follow, provided we take some interest in it. As I said, I cannot speak much because we would have liked to have more of you and in lesser doses, but I think in future all of us will remember you and will wish you well. And I believe you are writing a book. We would like to know when it's ready so that we may be able to remember you further after we leave Bangalore. Thank you very much, sir. And my friends, join me in giving him a hand.